Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clash of the Correspondents, the show each week where James and I bring on two guests, normally, who are playing each other at the weekend. And this week, we have Southampton Leicester, James.
Well done. You got it right. That's the first challenge.
Well, yeah, true, but we record so much now, I'm getting confused. Why don't you introduce who we have on today?
We have our Saints correspondent at FPL_Gaffer, Ali. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
I appreciate
welcome,
it.
Mate. Thanks for coming on. And we got Anup, our Leicester correspondent at Foxy FPL. How are you, mate?
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Likewise, for having me on again.
Fresh off the win at Burnley.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting game coming up this weekend. And if we can start with you, I don't know if did you expect at the start of the season Leicester would be doing as well as they have?
No, of course not. Because we had a pretty tough start to the season in terms of fixtures. So no, I wasn't. We, as I'm sure you know, everybody knows, we've got very good fixtures coming up. So I hope that we can maintain our position.
I joked on the main pod with James earlier about Leicester winning the league, but I suppose that's probably a little optimistic.
That will never happen.
Yeah,
it's exactly what we said last time round.
So it's already happened.
Lightning doesn't strike twice, right?
Yeah.
How much?
I mean, if it happened, it'd be amazing. Yeah.
Sure. How much of it do you put down to Brendan Rodgers? Because he does get a little bit of stick sometimes, mainly because of his stint at Liverpool. But he was successful before Liverpool. He was successful at Celtic, and he has shown now at Leicester that he can put a team together.
Yeah, I think even whilst at Swansea, he did pretty well. So I put a large chunk down to the manager, really, and the backroom staff as well, because if you looked at us, the fixtures we had at the start, I would never imagine us being like third as we are now, you know. So yeah, top four at least.
Is that where it's at now? Is that a failure then if you don't finish top four now?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Is that a failure now if you don't finish top four?
Oh no! I wouldn't say so at all. No, I mean, if you said to one of us Leicester fans at the start, top four, that's amazing. Champions League again, right? So I mean, at the start, I was realistically hoping for about 6 or 7, so we can finish in the top 6 still. I'll be very happy. Yeah.
I suppose Christmas is the time that you can really reflect. You've got over that Christmas break, you've got City and Liverpool back to back. But if you're still in the top 4. When it comes to those fixtures, and I think realistically you have to aim for top 4 and hope for bigger things.
Definitely, yeah. That's the time, as they sort of say, right? Because that's sort of halfway through our season as FPL managers as well. Halfway through the season, about 19 games. So you played everybody once, and then you can really look at it from that point of view. And then hopefully, if we're in the top 4, we can definitely look to maintain that position and stay there.
Let's be real here about Leicester. The fixtures look good for the rest of the season. No, I'm serious. So, I mean, you look at the period coming up, which we all think is amazing. Then obviously it's City, Liverpool back-to-back, game weeks 18, 19, and a couple of away games afterwards, West Ham, Newcastle. All right, difficult period. And they walk into sort of Chelsea at home, Wolves away, Man City at home, 25-27. And then the last, you got to go to Arsenal and Tottenham in the last 5. I mean, honestly, all the way through, I feel like Leicester, it already feels like Leicester have got quite a few difficult games out of. When you look at Leicester's FDR, there's sustained periods of greens.
Yep. As much as you can trust the FPL's official FDR.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what
but I think
worth.
we can all agree with the period coming up. I do think these next 4 are a little bit of a trap. Southampton away, Palace away, Arsenal at home, Brighton away. I don't think they're as strong a 4 of fixtures as they look on paper. If we can bring Ali in briefly, what's happening at Saints, mate?
The season's kind of going exactly how it's gone for the last couple of years. We are struggling. Like, our squad isn't fantastic. A couple of I'm quite surprised when we win. So there's been a couple of results that have happened so far this season that, you know, I've gone in hoping for a point and we've done okay. And similarly, a couple where I thought we may lose and we've managed to scrape a point. So, but then I don't know if my expectations have just sort of plummeted over the last couple of seasons, you know, from playing Inter Milan home and away to now really struggling in the Premier League, it's quite a change. So I think my expectations are lower, but then I'm quite pleasantly surprised when things do go quite well.
Are those expectations lower amongst the fan base as well? Because, I mean, you're 17th at the moment. I don't know. It feels like you've had a couple of good away wins. It feels like you shouldn't really be there. You've obviously had a difficult run of home fixtures that we'd kind of highlighted pre-season. I think after Leicester, that kind of swings a little bit. Is it positive around St Mary's at the moment?
Yeah, it does. It does feel quite positive. I mean, the fans are behind the players. Like they have, they don't tend to boo the team off ever really. But then we've never really been battered. I don't think I feel like the frustration is letting Leeds go. So that's one thing that I'm sure we'll talk about later. Southampton have dropped the most points since the start of last season, but we do take games by the scruff of the neck, and the players do give their all, which the fans can really get behind.
Is there an issue of quality then?
Yeah, we don't have the players that we would have had 4 or 5 seasons ago. They just since they went on kind of that mass sell and brought in just a couple of unknown players that haven't really materialised. That's the problem for me. We don't have any players that would get into the Premier League 11 at the moment. No way.
It's interesting that looking at the table now, you are just outside the relegation zone, albeit on goal difference above Newcastle. 1 point ahead of Norwich. So Norwich on 7, Newcastle on 8, Southampton on 8. Looking at the teams above you, all of them, I would say, we have said are not going to get relegated. So Brighton are only 1 point ahead of you. We've said it on the show many times. They're not going to get relegated. Sheffield United only 1 point ahead of you. We've said it that defensively they're pretty stable. They're not going to get relegated. Then you go up to 10 points, Everton and Manchester United, followed by Wolves on 11, Aston Villa on 11, and then West Ham and Bournemouth on 12. So of all of those teams, Villa the only ones that I could see sliding into that we said maybe will get relegated. If you're sitting one spot outside the relegation zone and literally everybody above you we've said is not going to get relegated, who is going to get relegated?
That's it. I mean, Burnley are doing well. They're they're up in 8th. I thought they would be down there, and I think they probably will be down there at the end. But I don't see them getting relegated really. Villa, they were. I've got a little bet on with my mate that Saints finish and get above Villa. I hope that happens, but they're playing really well, and they're dominating some fixtures, and their play looks really exciting. So I can't. I'm banking on us staying where we are. Really, I think we'll finish above. I think we could finish above Brighton and Sheffield, but I can also see Watford finishing above us. I feel like their squad is much stronger than ours, and we haven't seen the best of them yet. So I'd just like to keep Sheffield and Brighton in touch with us as much as we can.
Let's talk about FPL assets. And there's so many at Leicester. I mean, there's so many. There are good assets at Leicester, both in defence, midfield, and in attack. But I wouldn't go so far as actually to say there are so many, because I think all of us are focused around maybe 5. So you've got Soyuncu and Pereira at the back. Maybe you could chuck in Chilwell if you wanted to. Maddison in midfield, maybe Harvey Barnes, and then Vardy. So we are kind of circling around a small pool of 5 or 6 assets from an FPL point of view.
Bigger pool than most clubs, mate.
That's true. That is true, to be fair. But it's not like anyone's an option at the likes of City or what have you. To be fair, Liverpool's probably pretty similar. We focus on 5 or 6 options.
Well, I think with Leicester, I feel in spite of obviously how well they're doing, for the majority of the players, the pricing feels right. The price for Pereira feels right. The price for Maddison, for Vardy, it feels right for all of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
And there's a time element to go. Soyuncu's obviously emerged this year, and obviously he is undervalued. But then because of, say, the attacking potential of Pereira, and I think Chilwell will improve as the season goes on. There is an argument to obviously, there's an argument to take that step up on one of the fullbacks. I think Chilwell at one point this season will have a great run. I think he'll make that England left back spot his own. He feels to me almost unchallenged for that.
I always like asking our correspondents who they have from their own team. Who do you have from Leicester?
Okay,
in your FPL team?
So last week I just so my transfer for this week actually was to bring in C.O.T.C, and I was at the game obviously on Saturday, and I was annoyed that Leicester didn't keep a clean sheet, so he only got me 2 points, but he's undervalued. I would say he's a gift in FPL, so if you haven't got him, I would look to get on him. And Pereira looked really, really good, so I mean, if I was on a wild card, I would probably get Pereira, and he was unlucky to come away with nothing. In my Sky teams I've got C.O.T.C as well. I actually play this other game called Fan Base TV as well. I've got Pereira in that because of the pricing. I can afford him. I'm planning to probably bring in Vardy this week as well. Not really so much, I'll be honest, because of the Southampton game or the game after. But I really want him from the Arsenal home game, and we've got some great fixtures from Arsenal home onwards, especially our home games, and I just think his price is only going to go one way up, and Pukki's is going to go down now. So
nothing from the midfield taking your fancy at the moment. Says the James Maddison owner, hoping for some reinforcement of that. Okay,
you've got him. No, I think he's a good option. If I was on a wild card again, I'm saving my wild card. I've still not used it.
With James,
I would go for a Leicester midfielder as well. I think. Maddison's a good. In fact, I think all of them are good options, like you mentioned. Tielemans as well. Only from seeing him on Saturday after he scored, and Barnes. I think he got 2 assists in that, so of course he's in the mix as well. But yeah, Maddison is a good option as well. Slightly expensive maybe for me, but no, he's a good option as well.
What about you, Ali? Do you own any Southampton players? I always look at James Ward-Prowse with like hearts instead of eyes, because he's done me well in the past, but he's come into this season a little bit more expensive. Danny Ings is in that.
My answer will be a little bit shorter. No.
But then Danny Ings is in his kind of own pricing bracket now. That it's either him or Morpay, maybe at 6 million. That could be a consideration.
I think we're trying to stretch the budget to those sort of 7 mil forwards. So like Abraham and Haller and Pukki, who's obviously dipped a little bit, but I had Adams from the start of the year, and then I had to transfer him out at about game week 3 or 4 because the fixtures were starting to get a bit sour, and he wasn't quite showing that he was up to the Premier League standard, and
you just can't hit the target with Adams. Yeah. He had a few chances, but I feel like he's in big that Almiron or whatever. He just can't hit a barn door.
Yeah, he's one that I kept hold of because his underlying stats were really good. He was getting himself into good positions, but like you say, he was just not doing things.
I still have, as do a lot of FPL managers, and regrets over Perez. I know you put out a thread after the Burnley game talking about a lot of players, and he was one that you slammed a little bit. I started the season with him. I'm not going to ever go near him again.
Yeah, but I think it's quite funny. In the past 2 seasons, he always comes good in the latter third, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's going to do the same. But from seeing him, firsthand, he seemed short of confidence. I was very excited when we got him initially. He's been a bit of a letdown because I had him in the start of my team. I think I wrote an article for you guys and I really bigged him up, and I think as a result, quite a few people got on him, but he just wasn't to be.
It's what we do, jinx players. It's what we do.
Yeah.
I think just a point on Perez, I think was probably overlooked a little bit in hindsight, is obviously he spent the last couple of years playing in a side that generally counter-attacks all the time without the ball, and he's now playing for a side that's going to dominate the ball. It's very, very difficult. You might be playing with better players in a better team, but in terms of characteristically, it might not suit him. For me personally, I think the strongest Leicester side has sort of Barnes one side and Gray the other, personally. Although it's a challenge fitting in because really you want Tielemans, Chowdhury and Ndidi all in that team, and obviously you don't want to restrict the creative hub of Maddison either. There's a bit of depth there now, and that's part why you're doing well, mate.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I would slightly alter. I would put in Albrighton instead of Gray, to be honest. I was very keen on Damari Gray in the past from seeing him, but he's just not really lived up to expectations. He's still a very good player, maybe like an impact player from the bench with his pace and penetration.
He's not really kicked on, has he?
No, he's not as hoped. No.
When you got him, it was a coup, mate, because all the big clubs were after him.
From Birmingham,
and I think he went to Leicester with the hope of obviously playing regular football. And you look at how other players at similar age, and you think of all the kids behind him now, the Sanchos, Hudson-Odois and that, and they've kind of usurped him, haven't they? He's kind of out the picture from an England perspective. He'd be miles off it.
Definitely miles off. He was even saying himself, I remember, about 12, 15 months ago that he really wanted to use that season, probably last season then, as a way of pushing on to England, the England full team. But yeah, he would just be miles behind at the moment.
We do have depth, to be fair, in wide areas in England.
Harvey Barnes, another one, isn't he?
Yeah.
So many players England could play in those positions. That's why we spoke when we did the live stream. That's why Southgate's gone to this formation now. The amount of attacking talent who could play in the front three in those wider areas
would be ridiculous.
Ali, I want to speak to you about Southampton defensively a little bit, because when you say you're a little bit worried, and I agree with you. We said in the main pod Monday that I from what I saw Saturday, Watford will begin to improve. My biggest concern over you is a level imbalance between you don't score enough goals, and I think not strengthening defensively essentially in the summer was a major ricket. I feel like in the midfield areas you're still relatively strong, and I think you've got a couple of decent wing backs as well there, which I can understand why you might have gone back to this back three, and playing three essentially they help each other a little bit more. I know Vestergaard's had a few FPL returns. I think he's average.
Yeah.
I think all of them at centre half are probably not good enough. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I feel the wing backs are, from an FPL perspective, they're the ones that you would probably go for. I mean, I've still got a bit of a sour taste in my mouth with Vestergaard following the Leicester game last season, actually, at St Mary's, because
Harry Maguire winner.
And Vestergaard blunder at the same time. Like, the two centre backs just showing a complete different ends of the spectrum. But Dunso looks pretty good. Apart from when he was starting to be spoke about among the community, he then got himself red carded, which is a bit of a shame. But he looks quite promising, and Valerie ended last season really well, and he was probably a bit too expensive for a Saints fullback this season. But the central midfielders just aren't good enough, and I really hope they bring someone in January, because I wouldn't know which was the best centre back option to pick out of them. It's the best of a bad bunch, really.
No, I mean, you wouldn't invest in that FPL wise. Could I, Ali, invest in Danny Ings?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking, because I mean, at the moment in my side, I've got sort of two mid-priced forwards and Aguero. If I'm looking to sell Pookie now, I need to be upgrading to someone like Vardy, or downgrading to someone like Ings, because that price bracket with Pookie now, I've got Abraham. So it really needs to bring him down to be able to afford a better midfielder or defender, or find the money to go up to Vardy, really. So, and I feel Ings, I don't feel like he's badly priced. If there's a goal coming from that team, it's probably going to come through him. I wouldn't say no.
25 points in the last three, Danny Ings. 5.9 million. 0.1 cheaper than what he started on. 42 points from, what's he started? 6 games. We spoke about it a little bit on Monday, Suj. I don't know, are we just overlooking? My comment, Ali, on Monday's podcast was, my concern with Ings is always he's one sprint away from an injury.
Yeah. He is. He's quite worrying in that respect, but at the moment he is on form and he is looking good. He's kind of got what Pookie had at the start of the season. I mean, I delayed transferring Pookie in for so long because I was worried about his fixtures. But then, if we go to that Chelsea game, we lost 4-1 at home. But for an FPL forward, if he scores that one goal, which he did, that's really...
Doesn't matter, does it?
Exactly, that's really promising. Whereas, would you invest in a Saints defender? Well, no, because if they concede one goal, then they've lost their points, and they're probably not going to do much going forward. They may, but you're looking at a couple of times throughout the season, and you're not going to keep them for that long. So, but Danny Ings, if he gets you one goal in a 4-1 loss, then he's still getting those FPL returns. So now is probably the time to jump on him before people start to clock on. But the fixtures are kind of hit and miss over the next couple. We've got City away, but City away have got they can concede goals. So, and he could be the boy to do that.
I noticed, Ali, you've got City away in the League Cup as well. I think it's just before. You go up there twice in like 4 days. Good luck.
Yeah, it will be chance of getting the hotel booked up in Manchester for a week, I think.
Are you sure you want it, mate?
Well, yeah.
Listen, after the Champions League quarter-final, I got straight out of there. I knew my luck was over, mate.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be an interesting one because it'll be interesting to see the squads that both of the teams put out, because I mean, against Portsmouth in the cup, our starting 11 was really strong, which was I guess as expected because it was a big game, but also it tends to be where managers rest their players. So I expect City to rest their players, but I don't really know how we'll approach this one in terms of our 11. It'd be nice to maybe go out and get a result in the cup, to win that mental battle before the league match.
Just interesting, you mentioned obviously the cup there, Ali. If I can bring Anup in, because you've been picking strong sides in that League Cup. Obviously the win at Newcastle, I know it was on penalties. You picked a strong side, and it was a relatively strong side that played at Leicester as well. You've got a good draw in the last 16, Burton away, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like eggs are going in to try and win that trophy. I don't know if that's something we need to watch out for over the winter.
Yeah, I think since losing the final a couple of seasons ago to Manchester United in a what was an unfortunate loss, I still believe.
Well unlucky that day, mate.
Yeah, really, really unlucky. I felt we were definitely the better team. Their goals they scored were against the run of play, and then a couple of decisions late on went against us, and that's football. That's what we love about it. But I do feel like the club need a bit of silverware. Or they want a bit of silverware because they felt hard done by. What I am conscious of is that it impacts the league, and I really hope that's not the case. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case because the results are still good, but we're quite early on in the season and fatigue maybe hasn't kicked in yet. But if you ask me, would we rather win one of the cup trophies or stay in the Premier League? I'd have to opt to stay in the Premier League. Because I feel like the Championship's so hard to get out of, even for a squad like Southampton.
Yeah.
Well, you're both used to that. I mean, you've both had that in the last few years. And can I just ask you a similar question? Would you rather win the League Cup or finish top 4?
Finish top 4, definitely. Yeah, because then we've got Champions
League.
League.
Change of mindset.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh.
That's interesting. Really interesting.
Progressive. Let's talk about your FPL seasons, boys. And are you happy with your FPL season so far?
There you go. That's the answer.
You asking me? Sorry,
yeah,
who's that directed to?
To you?
No, I'm not happy at all. But I'm not worried at all. I spend a fair bit of time, and I have done sort of thinking of strategies and stuff. Last season, I got in the top 5k, so I think I've got a pretty good sort of method now of approaching the season, and the way I play it is a long-term game. So I'm not really worried about the first 8-9 weeks. I've got all chips left, including the first wild card. At the start, I try and build up a pretty good squad value, which is going okay. I've missed probably every single captaincy return, as I think a lot of people have. It's been so annoying, like people hitting the post every week, like Abraham, and it's ridiculous. But you just take it on the chin. You just move on to next week. Just accept it, because I believe that the luck will balance itself out in the long run anyway. And I've left some
fallacy,
points.
that mate.
Yeah, damn, you found me out. And yeah, I've left some points on the bench. It's never really happened to me before, but yeah, that's completely my fault. I'm not going to put that down to luck. Just I got to be better next week. Yeah,
you're in a similar boat to a lot of people. Ali, I owe you some gratitude, mate. You're the only person in the FPL Correspondents League keeping me off being at the bottom. other than Manchild.
Yeah,
and we don't count Manchild because he let's be honest, he's not a real person. But it's been horrible. There's only a couple of points between us, but just sitting there, 2.2 million at the moment.
Yeah, I dropped to 2.5 million overnight. I've continued the run of form from last year, really, from the end of last year, because in our last pod we spoke about how I got into the top 2K around Christmas, and I think I had about 3 green arrows between then and the end of the season, and it felt like every transfer I made and every 50-50 bench or start decision that I had went against me. I mean, I had a 3-week period where I had about 70 points on the bench. 1 week had 43 points on the bench, and it was
just carried on.
How did you get 43 points on the bench?
It was when Southampton played against West Ham, Sudge, and I left
Felipe on the bench.
Felipe Anderson. I left Lucas Dean on the bench, who scored a brace. Burnley, but that was when my squad value was so high, and I had the luxury of choosing an amazing starting 11. But the issue with it was I had 50-50 calls to make, and they just didn't go my way. This season, it started really poorly, and I said on Twitter the other day that I'm not as stressed this season because I was getting quite annoyed that my rank was trying to maintain that high rank. This season's not gone very well. A few of my transfers haven't gone too badly. I've used my wild card already. I don't feel my team is where it needs to be in terms of the form at the moment. I've got quite a lot of money sat in the bank that I need to spend before this weekend. But kind of to sum up what's my season, I feel like when I transferred Adams out, I did that in a double with Callum Wilson to bring in Abraham and Pookie. Abraham scored a hat-trick that week, but then Callum Wilson also braced, and Adams, who I transferred out, I think he got an assist, and Pookie then did nothing, and he's done nothing since. So those transfers have definitely gone against me, even though Abraham got that hat-trick. It felt really good, but then when you do the maths, actually, it doesn't really look that good, and that seems to be the theme at the moment.
There's a lot of us in that boat, so there's 4 points between us, and there's like 300,000 places at the moment. It's a lot to play for, considering we're only 9 weeks in. I think there's going to be a lot to be said for stamina this season. There's going to be a ton of managers that are not doing particularly well that stop playing in the next few game weeks. I think this year more than last year we'll see dropouts and people dropping out earlier than maybe they would have last season because they're not doing particularly well. I also think the spread this year of what you would call more experienced managers or more engaged managers, let's call it the Twitter community, is higher. Like in previous years, everybody that plays really actively and does a lot of research and strategy, like you're saying, and it would be in the top 1.5 million, let's say. There's guys that are in like 2.5, 3, 4 million that like I say on the show sometimes, I'm trying my best here, you know what I mean? It's not even like I'm just turning up on a Friday, making a transfer or two, blagging it, and off we go.
That's it.
I'm trying hard here. So there's a real broad spread here this season that's been fascinating. I think there's going to be a lot to be said for stamina this year, like sticking it out, sticking to your guns, sticking, like you said, you haven't always made the worst decisions. It just hasn't fallen your way. For everybody, even you, all of us here.
I was going to say for Ali, I used to have this thing with Spurs. We used to have great calendar years. So rather than having
January
rather than like we'd be shit till December, then we'd have an amazing end of the season. Then we'd start the next season great, then we'd be shit. 2020 Ali is going to be
maybe it'll come from January.
The recovery. And just interestingly, just kind of on FPL, I noticed that both of you have got quite a lot of money in the bank at the moment. Any theory behind that? First to Anup, if we can.
Okay, you've been stalking my team.
I had a little look.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. How much have I got in the bank? Because I don't even know. To be
Let's
honest,
have a look. Yeah, I
Listen,
can put
mate,
it up.
you're
if
in
you're
the
telling me now
correspondent
that I've
league.
got a lot in the bank, I can try and have a look as well. But
2.8 million. So 19.
have I really?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay. So the reasoning behind that is, I even did a mini thread on how much I hated Kyle Walker and why I took him out last week. So I was going to do a straight one to Pereira. So this is why I've got the money in the bank. So Walker was 6 million, and I wanted to beat his potential drop. I don't think he's even dropped yet, but so I was going to go to Pereira. If I was to go back on that decision, I would bring in Pereira after seeing him on Saturday. But I decided to bring in Soyuncu of Leicester. So that's the reason why I've got money in the bank. But I believe I can use, or I'm hoping I can use it this week in a straight move to maybe Pukki to Vardy. As I said, the next two fixtures of Leicester's might look fairly good on paper, but yeah, I can't see us like doing amazing. But after that, I want Vardy for Leicester home. For Arsenal at home. I can see that being a fixture that not only Leicester will do very good in, but Vardy. And then I want Vardy for that stretch, I think. Yeah,
It's interesting. I was saying Monday night on our pod about, I think these two Vardy fixtures, I think specifically for Vardy, Southampton and Palace, might be a bit of a trap, because I'm in a position where I want to get him in as well.
I think so as well. I would agree with you, James, definitely. Yeah.
I think they're difficult fixtures. I think Southampton are in a position now where they need to start doing something, if we're honest, Ali. And I think Palace away is always the sort of game. Vardy's returned there before, I'm sure. But you know, Palace away is always just awkward. They're all right defensively, aren't they? I mean, they could have conceded 4 or 5 to City at the weekend, but they didn't, did they?
No.
They invariably don't take that sort of slapping. And I think last couple of years, Palace have, I think it was 1-0 last year, and I think it was 5-0 to Palace, I think very late the year before, if I remember correctly.
If Anup's 2.8 in the bank is eye-watering, Ali, you're sitting on 4.7 in the bank.
Yeah.
If you guys don't need it, send some this way, because we'll have it.
Yeah, so I was in the group that transferred Kevin De Bruyne out, and it worked well.
Can't afford to get the bloody bugger back.
Yeah, I know. This is the thing. So now I've got the 4.7 million in the bank. The only midfielder that I really want to sort of offload is Cantwell, but he leaves me. If I transfer him out for De Bruyne, I need to find an extra 0.5 million from somewhere. So that would be where potentially downgrading Pukki to Ings may come in handy.
Yeah.
But I'm also
Get rid of Salah, mate. Go to Mane.
Yeah, I am considering that as well. I think there's probably about 3 or 4 transfers that I want to make, but obviously I don't have the wild card now, so I have to consider maybe a couple of points hits over the next 2 game weeks. I'm looking at sort of bringing Vardy in for Pukki, and then just sort of maybe a David Silva for Cantwell, but then his minutes always worry me. But also Son, I'm not sure what happened with him at the weekend, but I'm also not sure what's happening with Spurs in general. I suppose you all know, obviously.
Ali.
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate.
Get rid of Son. Get rid of Son.
It was just it's really disappointing when you're spending almost 10 million on a player and then they're sat on the bench. I mean, I'm with many, had 30 million sat on. I've got 30 million sat on the bench this game week in Aguero, Son and Salah, and I'm wondering why I'm only on less than 25 points.
Wow.
It's mental.
30, it's close to 35 almost. Out.
And that's where would we? Yeah, it is close. Yeah, it is actually.
Wow. That's
a
third of your.
Aguero and Salah haven't even got a point, have they?
12
each. They'll all be benched. So 12 and 9.7. That's a third of your budget.
Yeah, there might be something in that, bringing in
more reliable regular starters. You think?
Yeah, mid-price. I don't feel like I've obviously Salah's been injured. I feel like he's still a good option in terms of the minutes, but Spurs have got some good options going forward. I still feel Son is probably one of the better options. I'm not sure why he didn't start. And Aguero as well is still the main man at City. But then if they're, a mate said to me the other day, they might be looking to go for that Champions League. And in doing so, they may they may not focus on the league so much. It seems to have already escaped them, so they might be looking towards the Champions League and saving in for that a bit more.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We're going to wrap up with the score prediction.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, go on, start with you, Ali. What do you think this weekend?
What do I think and what do I hope for? I think it will end 1-1. No. I think it will probably end 1-2. I hope it ends 1-1.
What about you, Anup? What are you thinking this weekend? Hoping for a victory?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to say 1-0 Leicester.
Ooh, clean sheet.
Clean
Soon
sheet.
2 points
Clean
incoming.
sheet, yes.
There we go.
Yourself?
Let's hope so.
I'm going to go a couple of goals in it for Leicester. 2-0, 3-1, something like that. I think a couple of goals in it for Leicester. 2-0. 2-0.
I'm going to go what everybody already knows because this season's so fucking weird. 2-1 Southampton.
Yeah, all the goals
Nice.
awarded and disallowed by VAR, and
of course,
and a shit experience for everybody there. There you go.
I
And
think
then
interesting,
overturned, of
just to make a key point, we've said for Leicester and for Anup, like these two are sticky coming up. If they walk out the other side of these two games, which they should now be targeting wins in with 6 points, it's massive.
Real deal.
Massive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think
that's a very good
you are
point,
you are the real deal. I feel part of the reason why I kind of tipped Southampton is because I'm a little unsure about the consistency. I think like the result at Old Trafford was a letdown for you. But there's a sustained period of fixtures now. Pick it up and you can be away because trust me, my team's not great at the moment. There's an opportunity, mate. Take it. Good luck.
There we go.
That's true.
Guys, thanks for joining us on the show, Clash of the Correspondents, all the articles and interaction on Twitter throughout the season. We appreciate it because nobody's getting paid, but everyone's putting the effort in to just help the community in every way we can, especially with the guys watching your teams week in, week out. So we do appreciate it, and thanks from James and me and everybody else and all the rest of that stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you guys for hosting. It's been awesome, and I'm glad we can help the community. I mean, my advice to the community would be do the complete opposite to whatever I do, and you'll be absolutely fine.
We always say to them, don't listen to us anyway.
Nah, sure. James, what do we have left this week? One more show, the final plan.
Final plan tomorrow, potentially a lot of fucking hits.
Yeah, there will be. I'm tempted with one, maybe two. You're tempted with a few, maybe wild card. A lot of umming and ahhing is going to be happening from when we're recording this to Champions League games to potential flags on players and injuries that might crop up.
We should point out, just in case, we have pre-recorded this.
We have indeed. And we need to wrap up because the Arsenal game starts in 3 minutes and I'm sure the boys want to go and watch it.
You mean the Sheffield United game?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, Ali, you called him Sheffield a couple of times. FPL Tomo's going to come and stab you in your sleep if you ever call him Sheffield. Yeah, man, Sheffield United. Otherwise, he'll come with a blade, rip your eyes out, and put them on toast. And
well, if Lundstrom can score a brace and keep a clean sheet tonight, I'll call him whatever the hell he wants.
There we go. I'll
be so happy if that happened.
Yeah,
I've got him, and I've got Guendouzi in this one, so I'm absolutely buzzing for this one. It's Clash of the Titans, and they might be able to take me up to 25 points this week.
The battle of the 4.5 midfielders is about to begin. Yeah. To all the listeners, thank you for tuning in to another Clash of the Correspondents with Planet FPL. Slightly longer than the regular ones, but always a good chat. And do tune in tomorrow. Hit the like, subscribe, share, comment, all that other stuff that you're supposed to do. Ciao for now.
Cue music, man. Ciao. Cheers, gents.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you, guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
The Fantasy Football Show.